Picture this. The most expensive resort in Las Vegas history finally opens after 20 years of bankruptcies, a pandemic, and a worker's death. They throw a celebrity party. Justin Timberlake shows up. Time magazine calls it one of the world's greatest places to visit. And then a guy orders nachos, gets 6 chips on a plate, pays $24, posts a photo, and the whole thing unravels on social media in real time. That is the Fontainebleau story, a $3.7 billion monument to ambition, bad timing, and a fundamental misunderstanding of what Las Vegas actually is. Hi, my name is Michael, and this is Old Vegas Legends. The dream, what Fontainebleau was supposed to be. Let's go back to 2005. Vegas is booming. Real estate values are hitting numbers that make grown men cry happy tears. Construction cranes dot the skyline like a forest that somebody painted gold. And a Florida developer named Jeffrey Soffer has just done something remarkable. He's acquired the legendary Fontainebleau Miami Beach, the hotel where Frank Sinatra held court, where Elvis Presley lounged by the pool, where the Rat Pack made the word glamour feel like it wasn't even trying hard enough. Soffer looked at that history, that legacy, that name, and he thought, Las Vegas needs this. Now, I'll give the man credit. The vision was genuinely compelling. He chose a 24-acre plot on the north end of the Strip, the former site of the El Rancho Hotel and the Algiers. He hired Carlos Zapata Studio, architects known for pushing boundaries so far, they occasionally fall off them. The plans called for a 67-story tower rising 737 feet above Las Vegas Boulevard, Nevada's tallest occupiable building, nearly 4,000 rooms, more than 24 restaurants, a spa inspired by Iceland's Blue Lagoon, a 100,000 square foot casino with 42-foot ceilings that made you feel like you were gambling inside a cathedral. Former Mandalay Resort Group president Glenn Schaefer came aboard and made a prediction that sounded bold at the time. Less than 1/3 of revenues would come from gaming, he said. This would be a new kind of Vegas property, one where luxury, not gambling, drove the business. And look, in theory, that's not insane. The Bellagio proved that Vegas could do genuine luxury. Wynn proved it again. But here's what those properties had that the Fontainebleau didn't. And we'll come back to this repeatedly because it matters more than anything else in this story. Location. But we'll get there. Construction began in February 2007 with the kind of fanfare that makes you nervous in retrospect. Turnberry West. Construction assembled a sprawling network of subcontractors. Everybody was racing, everybody was excited. Vegas was the hottest real estate market on the planet. 6 months later, the whole world changed. The cursed construction. I want you to understand something before we get into what happened during construction. This building was not just unlucky. It was catastrophically, historically, almost supernaturally unlucky. I'm not a superstitious man, but if somebody told me the Fontainebleau was built on an ancient burial ground and also a broken mirror and also under a ladder, I would not argue with them. It started almost immediately. In July 2007, 70 iron workers walked off the job. They refused to work in what they called unsafe conditions. They came back 3 days later after safety measures were implemented. Fine. Disputes happen on big construction sites. That's not unusual. Then in August, a construction worker fell 30 feet when his safety harness failed. He died from his injuries. A man went to work and didn't come home. Let that sit for a second before we talk about anything else. Less than a week after that tragedy, 3 massive 60-foot concrete slabs collapsed in the parking garage. A fire department spokesperson said that if anyone had been underneath them, they surely would have died. Inside the building, a Las Vegas Sun investigation revealed something that sounds like a fever dream. Architects and contractors were in constant conflict. Screaming matches broke out in meetings. One engineer described the situation as building on the edge, saying they were racing ahead with construction while designers struggled to keep up, knowing they'd have to tear down sections and rebuild them because the designers hadn't caught up yet. So they're literally demolishing parts of a building they just built, on a timeline, with borrowed money. During a construction boom when every skilled worker in Nevada was already spoken for. And then came the crash. The Great Recession hit Las Vegas harder than almost anywhere else in America. Real estate values collapsed virtually overnight. Tourism numbers fell off a cliff. And the banks that had promised to finance the Fontainebleau, a group led by Bank of America that had committed approximately $4 billion, began having serious second thoughts. In April 2009, Fontainebleau Resorts did something I have never seen a developer do before, and honestly haven't seen since. They sued their own lenders. They called them unscrupulous. They alleged that Deutsche Bank, which held an ownership stake in the competing Cosmopolitan Resort, also under construction nearby, had deliberately sabotaged the funding to minimize competition for their own investment. Whether that's true or not, it tells you everything about how desperate things had become. The project was 70% complete. Thousands of rooms sat furnished but empty. Restaurants were installed and would never serve a meal. The marble had been laid. The fixtures hung. The casino floor waited silently for players who would not arrive. On June 9, 2009, Fontainebleau Las Vegas filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, listing between 1,000 and 5,000 creditors, including subcontractors owed more than $250 million. The Blue Tower went dark. 14 years as a ghost. Here is a question I want you to sit with. What does it cost to own a 67-story unfinished skyscraper in the Nevada desert for 14 years while doing absolutely nothing with it? Billionaire Carl E. Kahn bought the property out of bankruptcy in 2010 for roughly $150 million. Pennies on the dollar compared to the billions already spent. And then he did almost nothing. He spent a few million annually just to maintain the structure. That's it. No renovation, no reopening plan, no vision. Just a giant blue glass building standing at the north end of the Strip, getting dustier by the year, staring down at Las Vegas Boulevard like it was waiting for an apology. Tourists would stop and point. What's that building? And locals would shake their heads. The stories that grew up around it became almost mythological. Some said thieves had stripped the copper cables from the walls. Others claimed concrete had been poured into the pipes. One version of the story had the entire casino floor still furnished under years of dust, like a real-life Miss Havisham situation, just, with slot machines instead of a wedding cake. The Fontainebleau had become Las Vegas's most expensive ghost. And in a city that tears down its history every 15 years, somehow this building just kept standing. In 2017, Econ sold to New York developer Steve Witkoff for $600 million. Witkoff renamed it the Drew, after his son Andrew, who had died of an OxyContin overdose in 2011 at age 22. He announced plans to finally finish the resort, partnering with Marriott International. By January 2020, he was close to securing a $2 billion construction loan. Then came March 2020. I don't need to explain what happened in March 2020. You lived through it. The pandemic shut Las Vegas down entirely. Construction stopped. Contractors filed tens of millions in liens claiming unpaid bills. Several former employees sued, alleging they were laid off and never paid what their contracts promised. Cursed. I'm telling you, cursed. The resurrection and the warning signs. In February 2021, Jeffrey Soffer, the man who started all of this, bought the project back. He partnered with Koch Real Estate Investments, the real estate arm of the Kansas-based industrial conglomerate. He restored the original Fontainebleau name. He committed to finishing what he'd started 16 years earlier. A new billboard appeared near the construction site. It read, in bold letters, "Miracles still happen." And you know what? He wasn't wrong, because what happened next genuinely was remarkable. Soffer redesigned everything from scratch. He reduced the room count to 3,644, but expanded the luxury suites to between 5,000 and 10,000 square feet. He added 550,000 square feet of meeting and convention space, recognizing the adjacent Las Vegas Convention Center as a potential gold mine. In December 2022, he secured $2.2 billion in construction financing. The total project cost reached $3.7 billion, making it the second most expensive resort ever built in Las Vegas. On December 13th, 2023, nearly 2 decades after the project was first announced, the Fontainebleau Las Vegas finally opened its doors. Justin Timberlake performed. Post Malone was there. Paul Anka, which is a very specific combination of celebrities that I genuinely respect. Time magazine named it one of the world's greatest places to visit. The 173,000 square foot casino sparkled beneath those famous 42-foot ceilings, featuring 1,300 slot machines and 128 table games. Celebrity chef restaurants lined the corridors. The architecture was stunning. The rooms were gorgeous. For about 3 weeks, the Fontainebleau looked like it might actually pull this off. And then, somebody ordered nachos. The location problem nobody wants to admit. Before we get to nachos, and we are absolutely getting to nachos, I need to talk about something that casino executives and real estate developers hate admitting, because it means all their beautiful plans were built on a fundamental error: location. Walk south from Bellagio, past the Cosmopolitan, past the Venetian, past Wynn and Encore, you're still not even close to the Fontainebleau. The distance from Caesar's Palace to Wynn is 1.1 miles, which is roughly what most tourists will comfortably walk, especially in Vegas, where there are casinos and restaurants and attractions keeping you entertained every few hundred feet. The Fontainebleau sits another half-mile beyond that, past Circus Circus. Surrounded by empty lots, condominium towers, and strip malls, there's no monorail connection. The Vegas Loop tunnel system hadn't reached the property. Guests describe the walk to the main strip as a 20-minute journey that nobody wants to make in 110-degree summer heat. One guest wrote that they went back and forth to Bellagio a few times during their stay, and each cab ride cost $20 in each direction. That's $40 every time you want to go somewhere interesting. Add that up over a 3-night stay, and you've spent more on transportation than some people spend on gambling. Here's why this matters beyond personal inconvenience. Walk-up traffic is the lifeblood of a casino. It's the person who's walking between properties, sees a slot machine, thinks why not, sits down, and 3 hours later has contributed meaningfully to your bottom line without you spending a single dollar on marketing to get them there. It's the spontaneous decision, oh, let's just pop in here. The foundation of casino economics since Bugsy Siegel opened the Flamingo in 1946. Without walk-up traffic, a casino is starting from zero every single day. You have to spend enormous sums on marketing just to get people through the door. And once they're through the door, you have to give them a reason to stay rather than leave and go somewhere more centrally located. One industry observer put it bluntly in an online forum, and I want to read this because it's the most honest summary I've seen. The two properties' locations are simply not near enough to the rest of the strip to get walk-up traffic. So you need a special reason to go there. And what would that be? What do they offer that's unique or at least different? Nothing, as far as I can tell. Nothing. That's a brutal assessment, and it was written before the nachos. The pricing scandals, Nacho Gate, and beyond all right. We have arrived at Nacho's. Shortly after opening, a guest visited the Fontainebleau sportsbook, ordered nachos, and waited an hour, which is already, let me just say, not a great sign for a $3.7 billion resort. When the food arrived, he looked at the plate. 6 tortilla chips, covered in melted cheese, surrounded by 4 dipping sauces, $24. He posted a photo on social media with a simple message. Come on, man, 1.2 million views. Other Vegas casinos piled on with gleeful vindictiveness. 4 Queens posted their pulled pork nachos for $12.99. Binion's promoted theirs starting at $15. Nacho Gate was born. And the Fontainebleau, the resort that survived bankruptcy, a pandemic, and a global financial crisis, became a national punchline over a plate of chips. 6 chips is not enough nachos. I want that on the record. But this was never really about nachos. It was about a feeling that every Vegas visitor knows right now. The feeling of being charged luxury prices for something that isn't, in any meaningful sense, a luxury experience. The spa day pass ran $150 when competitors charged $75. Guests reported paying $44 for coffee and pastries. And here's the detail that genuinely baffles me. Restaurants were hiding their prices entirely. forcing guests to call ahead just to find out what things cost. When you hide your prices, you're telling customers exactly one thing. You know they're too high, and you're hoping nobody notices until they're already committed. That's not luxury positioning. That's a trap. People who feel trapped don't come back. They don't recommend you to their friends. They post on Reddit and warn 15,000 strangers to stay away. For a property that desperately needed word of mouth to overcome its location problem, this was not a minor misstep. It was a catastrophe. The casino floor. Nobody wants to play. The pricing problems extended into the casino itself, and this is where things went from embarrassing to genuinely self-destructive. Multiple visitors reported that the slot machines were tight. Not just normal Vegas tight, aggressively, noticeably, don't come back tight. The payouts, multiple visitors complained, were almost non-existent. And look, every casino has tight slots. But when you're a new property trying to build a player database, when you desperately need people to sit down and play and feel like they're being given a fair shot, tight machines are not a strategy. They're a suicide note. But the tier matching situation might actually be worse. In the casino industry, tier matching is standard practice. If you're a platinum level player at MGM, a competitor will typically match that status to get you through their door. It's an acknowledgement that you are a valued customer and they want your business. It's also just good sense. Why would you make a high-value player prove themselves from scratch at your property when you can simply say, "We see who you are, welcome"? The Fontainebleau initially refused to match loyalty tiers from other casinos. Let me tell you what happened. A platinum-level MGM player visited. He was denied a status match. He ran $3,000 through the slots without winning anything meaningful. He left after 30 minutes. His parting comment was clear. Fontainebleau clearly only wants to cater to whales. A casino host later confirmed that they'd only done tier matching for a single day after opening, then stopped because too many people were coming in and taking advantage. Too many people coming into your casino that you just opened and spent $3.7 billion building. I need a moment with that decision because I genuinely cannot explain the logic. Multiple visits to the property in early 2024 revealed what the numbers would later confirm. Closed casino pit sections, empty slot banks, few diners at the food hall. One observer noted they counted only 3 tables busy, with just 1 to 3 people at each, while only 4 or 5 slot machines were occupied on the entire floor. Analyst Nate Silver visited months after opening and observed that the casino floors sat conspicuously empty. At the most expensive resort in Las Vegas history. The executive exodus and the money problems. When a new resort loses 4 senior executives within its first month of operation, that is not a coincidence. That is a signal. Within weeks of opening, Michael Clifford, the senior vice president of casino operations, was gone. Colleen Birch, the chief operating officer who had spent 13 years at the Cosmopolitan, was gone. Shane Smith, the chief marketing officer, was gone. A 4th executive followed shortly after. Now, executives leave companies. That happens. But 4 in the first month of a flagship opening after 20 years of development. After a $3.7 billion investment, that tells you something about what they saw from the inside that we couldn't see from the outside. Jeffrey Soffer brought in Morris Wooden, a 36-year hospitality veteran who had served as president of Wynn and Encore from 2013 to 2019. It was a smart hire. Wooden knows what a successful luxury property looks like because he ran one. But as we were about to discover, some problems are deeper than any single executive can solve. Then the financial situation started becoming clearer. Reports emerged suggesting occupancy rates hovering around 49%. At a 3,644-room property that needed to service billions in debt. The strip average at the time was around 86%. The Fontainebleau wasn't just underperforming. It was less than half as full as its competitors. And then came the investigation that became public in the most awkward way imaginable. During a Nevada Gaming Commission meeting in May 2025, Commissioner Rosa Solis-Rainey asked Maurice Wooden about, and I'm quoting directly here, the issues currently going on at the Fontainebleau with respect to credit issuance. Wooden appeared blindsided. I'm not sure of any investigation as it relates to anything with AML, he said. Is there something specific? AML stands for anti-money laundering, and the Gaming Control Board had apparently been investigating the Fontainebleau for possible violations of the Bank Secrecy Act. The property had allegedly issued a $2 million marker to a patron after management's denial was overruled by ownership. MGM, Resorts World, and Wynn had all faced similar probes and paid millions in fines. Now, the Fontainebleau was in the crosshairs. On top of everything else, sources suggested the property was seeking $975 million in refinancing to restructure its debt. And here's one detail that I find almost poetically cruel. The resort was facing an $8,000 daily intellectual property royalty fee, just to use the Fontainebleau name. $8,000 per day for the name of a building they spent 20 years trying to open. The layoffs, when the dream starts cutting staff. In May 2025, security handed a box to a dealer at the Fontainebleau Las Vegas during what he expected to be another quiet shift. He wasn't the only one. Up to 60 table game dealers were let go effective immediately. Now let's think about what that means beyond the human cost, which is real and significant and deserves acknowledgement first. These are people who showed up to work at what was supposed to be the crown jewel of the Las Vegas Strip. They built their lives around this job, and they got handed a box. But from a purely strategic standpoint, laying off table game dealers at a casino struggling to build a player database is roughly equivalent to a restaurant that's failing to attract customers, deciding to fire half the kitchen staff. You are removing the product you are trying to sell. Casino floors run on energy. They run on activity. They run on the sound of chips stacking and cards being dealt, and dealers calling out plays in that particular Vegas rhythm that's been the same since your grandfather visited in 1962. An empty table with no dealer isn't just lost revenue, it's a signal to every person walking through that casino that something is wrong here. And people who sense something is wrong don't sit down and gamble, they keep walking. The layoffs followed similar cuts across other departments in late 2024, when employees reportedly received only 2 weeks severance. The resort that had launched with 6,250 team members was trimming costs wherever it could find them. And as anyone who's ever watched a casino struggle knows, once that spiral begins, it is incredibly difficult to reverse. Low occupancy, reduced revenue, staff cuts, worse service, lower occupancy. Round and round we go. What Fontainebleau got right, or and why. It still isn't enough. I want to stop here and be fair. Because in the interest of telling the complete story, the Fontainebleau genuinely got some things right. And I think it's important to acknowledge that, because this isn't a story about a bad product. It's a story about a great product in the wrong place at the wrong time, making the wrong strategic decisions. The rooms are genuinely beautiful. Sophisticated blue, gray, and gold color schemes, floor-to-ceiling windows, modern design that feels considered rather than generic. Guests who stayed there overwhelmingly praised the physical space itself. The food court drew rave reviews. Every single spot is worth visiting, one guest wrote. That's not something you hear about many Vegas food courts, where the standard is somewhere between airport terminal and decent but nothing special. The gym is, by multiple accounts, easily the best in Vegas, which, if you know how seriously serious gym-goers take their gyms, is not nothing. And there's something else, something that a certain kind of traveler genuinely values. The Fontainebleau is quiet, no shoulder-to-shoulder crowds fighting through smoke-filled casino floors, no aggressive energy of 3,000 people, all desperately hoping their luck is about to turn. Some guests have specifically converted from Wynn loyalists because the Fontainebleau offers peace. One journalist wrote something that I think accidentally identifies the entire problem. It's the Las Vegas experience for people who despise Las Vegas. Read that again. It's the Las Vegas experience for people who despise Las Vegas. That is both a genuine compliment and an existential crisis for a casino resort. Because Las Vegas is not, has never been, and cannot sustainably be a destination for people who despise Las Vegas. The Strip runs on energy, on crowds, on the electric, slightly desperate feeling that something incredible might happen at any moment. A quiet luxury resort works in Miami, in Napa, in Maldives. In Vegas, it feels like eating in a restaurant where you're the only customer. You keep looking around wondering what everyone else knows that you don't. The bigger picture, Fontainebleau, is just the symptom. Here's what I need you to understand before we close this out. The Fontainebleau's problems didn't happen in a vacuum. They happened inside a city that is actively, deliberately, squeezing out the very people who built it. Strip gaming revenue fell 3.9% in May 2025. 4 consecutive months of decline. June saw nearly 400,000 fewer visitors than the same month the year before. The average visitor spent $1,322 per trip in 2024, which sounds great until you realize gambling spending actually went down. People are spending more money in Vegas and gambling less of it. It's going to resort fees and parking and $24 nachos. The house is winning before anyone sits down. Caesars Entertainment, CEO Tom Reeg said it openly on a 2023 analyst call. "You're kicking out the lowest end. I see no reason that needs to stop. That's not a slip. That's a strategy." And the Fontainebleau walked directly into that environment and tried to out-luxury properties that were already bleeding customers. Here's the uncomfortable truth nobody in the boardroom wants to say. $3.7 billion bought them a building. It didn't buy them a location. It didn't buy them foot traffic. It didn't buy them the goodwill of middle-class gamblers who might have given them a real shot if they hadn't been charged $44 for coffee and handed 6 chips on a plate. Old Vegas understood something the Wall Street era forgot. The house always wins long-term. So, your actual job is to make losing feel worth it. Make people feel like they got something. Make them feel like the city wants them there. The Fontainebleau made people feel like a transaction. And people who feel like transactions go to an all-inclusive in Mexico and never look back. The Mirage volcano is gone. The pirate battles are gone. The $3 steak dinners are gone. The buffets that let a construction worker from Ohio eat alongside a Manhattan millionaire, mostly gone. The lights are still on. But something essential got traded away. The Fontainebleau is standing at the north end of the Strip as proof of what happens when you forget what Vegas actually was. It was never about luxury. It was about the dream that tonight might be your night. You can't charge $44 for coffee and sell that dream.